Think about the last time you told someone your problem. How did it go? Did it make you stronger, or did it make you feel smaller, exposed, maybe even drained? Here's the truth nobody tells you. Every time you share your struggles with the wrong person, you're giving them power over your peace. Your strength, your focus, your growth, all of it can be compromised by a single conversation. What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make isn't talking about your problems at all? That the secret to real strength lies in silence, in keeping your battles private and protecting your inner world. Tonight, I'm going to show you why the less you say about your struggles, the more unstoppable you become. If you want, I can also make an even punchier, high-energy version that grips the audience from the first word. Do you want me to do that? Silence protects your power. It's one of those truths that seems simple when you say it out loud, but it carries a depth and a weight that most people never fully grasp. Think about it. Every time you speak about your struggles, your fears, your doubts, you are handing someone a piece of yourself. That piece might seem small, almost insignificant, like a fragment of glass that could easily be lost in a sea of words, but it is never as harmless as it appears. Each time you articulate your problems, you're not just sharing a moment of vulnerability, you're exposing a part of your internal world that is meant to remain yours. There's a reason wise people say, keep your cards close to your chest, and that reason has nothing to do with secrecy for the sake of deceit. It has everything to do with preserving your energy, your focus, your power. You see, your power isn't measured by what you can do in front of others. It is measured by what you can endure quietly, by what you can face without needing external validation or approval. When you start telling people your problems, you invite them into a space they may not belong. You let them witness your cracks, your fractures, your insecurities. And the truth is, most people, intentionally or unintentionally, will use that knowledge in ways you never imagined. They may not set out to harm you, but simply having access to your vulnerabilities gives them leverage, whether they know it or not. It allows them to shape their perception of you, to categorize you, to make assumptions about your strength, your capacity, your resilience. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategic. Silence is understanding that your power is not diminished by holding it within yourself. In fact, it is often multiplied. When you solve your problems in private, you cultivate resilience. You build the muscles of patience, discipline, and introspection. You learn how to navigate challenges without the crutch of external sympathy or advice. Think about the times in your life when you have faced difficulties alone. Perhaps no one knew what you were going through, and yet you survived. You thrived. You came out stronger. That strength, that confidence, that inner fortitude is exactly what we are talking about when we say silence protects your power. Because when you keep your struggles private, you are not dependent on anyone's approval, advice, or understanding. You are reliant on yourself, and that self-reliance is the cornerstone of true power. The culture we live in today encourages oversharing. Social media platforms thrive on it. They encourage you to post every thought, every feeling, every frustration, as though visibility equals validation. But here's the irony. Visibility rarely equals empowerment. It often equals exposure. When you tell the world about your struggles, you are giving them a front row seat to your weaknesses. You are opening yourself up to commentary, judgment, and unsolicited advice. And even those who mean well can dilute your strength simply by sharing their perspectives, their solutions, their opinions. The truth is, your problems are yours for a reason. They are lessons tailored for your growth, experiences designed to test your resilience, challenges meant to teach you something no one else can teach you. When you vocalize them to the wrong people, you risk letting those lessons be hijacked by external voices. You risk losing the raw, personal transformative power of solving them on your own. There's a subtle but powerful shift that happens when you practice discretion. When you choose not to disclose your difficulties, you cultivate a kind of respect from yourself and from others. People begin to notice your composure, your strength, your ability to handle adversity without crumbling. They start to see you as someone who is not easily shaken, someone who does not seek validation or pity. And this perception is incredibly empowering because while vulnerability has its place, indiscriminate vulnerability can erode your authority over your own life. It can make you feel scattered, dependent, or even defeated before you've truly processed the challenge. True power comes from knowing what to share, when to share it, and with whom. It comes from understanding that silence is a shield, a form of self-respect, and a way to maintain control over your own narrative. Think about the historical figures, the leaders, the visionaries, the innovators who changed the world. Very few of them broadcasted their every struggle. They faced immense pressure, heartbreak, failure, and doubt, yet they mastered the art of selective disclosure. They shared their ideas when necessary, their victories when appropriate, but their personal battles often remained private. Why? Because they understood that the preservation of their energy, their focus, and their power was more important than external acknowledgement. When you master the art of silence, you begin to understand that your power does not require an audience. It does not require applause or empathy to be valid. It exists inherently within you, waiting to be harnessed, waiting to be exercised, waiting to be protected. Silence also allows clarity. When you constantly discuss your problems with others, your mind becomes cluttered with multiple perspectives, conflicting advice, and emotional noise. Every voice you invite into your inner circle can potentially distort your perception of the problem and, more importantly, of yourself. But when you maintain silence, you create space to think clearly, to analyze objectively, to make decisions from a place of strength rather than influence. You develop the ability to solve problems not because someone told you how, but because you understood them deeply and addressed them with your own insight. This self-reliance, this internal problem-solving capacity, is a hallmark of those who wield true power. It separates the reactive from the proactive, the dependent from the independent, the ordinary from the extraordinary. And let's not ignore the emotional benefits. Sharing your problems indiscriminately often leads to disappointment. People may offer advice, but they rarely offer action. They may listen, but they rarely understand. They may empathize, but empathy without action doesn't solve your problem. It simply validates it. Silence, on the other hand, keeps your emotional state intact. It allows you to process feelings privately, to grieve, to struggle, to fight, to rise without interference. You preserve your dignity, your focus, and your sense of control. You become unshakable because your energy is spent on solutions, not on convincing others of your reality or seeking their approval. In the end, silence is not just about withholding information. It is about cultivating a mindset that prioritizes your growth, your resilience, and your authority over your life. It is about understanding that every problem you face is a test of character, a chance to develop strength, and a moment to exercise discipline. By keeping your struggles private, you protect your power, you honor your journey, and you ensure that when you emerge from challenges, you do so stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. Silence protects your power because it allows you to master yourself, to shield your vulnerabilities, and to control the narrative of your own life. It is an act of strength, an act of self-respect, and an act of profound wisdom. The next time you feel the urge to tell someone your problems, pause. Consider what is at stake. Consider the energy you will expend, the control you might relinquish, and the unnecessary weight you will carry. Your power is too precious to give away. Guard it, nurture it, and let silence be your ally, because in the quiet moments where you face your struggles alone, that is where your true power is forged, refined, and made unbreakable. 2. Not everyone wants to see you healed. When you think about it, it's easy to assume that the people around you genuinely want what's best for you. We like to believe that if we're honest about our struggles, those close to us will rally, support, and guide us toward a solution. But the truth is far more complicated and far more subtle. People are not always invested in your healing. Some are invested in your struggle. Some feel comforted by your discomfort because it makes their own lives feel comparatively easier, or because it maintains a certain balance they are unwilling to disrupt. Others may unconsciously resent your growth because it challenges their own sense of control or superiority. Your vulnerability can make them uncomfortable, and rather than encouraging your progress, they may respond with judgment, distraction, or even criticism. Healing requires energy, focus, and commitment. And when you share your problems with others, you cannot always control the energy that comes back. Not everyone who listens to your struggles will be a positive force. Some may gossip, some may offer misguided advice, and some may intentionally or unintentionally hinder your progress because they are not aligned with your journey. By keeping your challenges private, you shield yourself from these influences and ensure that your healing is authentic, uninterrupted, and ultimately more powerful. Healing is a personal responsibility, and not everyone has the capacity, wisdom, or willingness to contribute meaningfully to it. When you recognize this truth, you begin to understand the immense value of self-reliance. You take ownership of your transformation, relying on your strength, your insight, and your resilience rather than external validation. In this way, keeping your struggles private is not isolation, it's empowerment. It's about building a sanctuary around your growth, ensuring that the people who matter are those who genuinely support you without imposing, judging, or interfering. Your healing is sacred, and it deserves protection. Sharing it indiscriminately risks dilution, distraction, and even sabotage. Silence becomes your shield, your tool, and your strategy. By holding your challenges close, you ensure that when you emerge stronger, it is your triumph, untainted by the influence, opinions, or limitations of others. The truth is, those who genuinely care will not need the details of your struggle to stand by you. They will recognize your growth, support your journey, and celebrate your victories without needing to know every moment of pain. This understanding transforms the way you interact with the world. It teaches discernment, patience, and emotional intelligence. You learn to protect your energy, to focus on solutions rather than explanations, and to prioritize those who uplift rather than those who drain. You realize that healing is not a performance for others. It is a deeply personal process that demands respect, both from yourself and from those around you. Keeping your struggles private ensures that your healing remains authentic. It allows you to process, reflect, and grow without the interference of judgment, distraction, or unsolicited advice. In doing so, you safeguard your journey, cultivate resilience, and maintain the integrity of your progress. You recognize that not everyone wants to see you healed, and that truth, though difficult to accept, becomes a source of strength, clarity, and empowerment in your life. The most profound transformations rarely occur in the public eye. When people see someone evolving, achieving, or overcoming, they often assume that the process was visible, that the hard work was performed on a stage for everyone to witness. But the reality is that true growth is almost always silent, internal, and unseen. It happens in the quiet moments when no one is watching, during late nights of reflection, in early mornings of discipline, and in the spaces where you confront your weaknesses head-on. These private moments are where character is built, where resilience is forged, and where the foundations of success are laid. When you talk about your problems or struggles too freely, you risk interrupting this process. Sharing your journey too early invites external influences, opinions, and judgments that can cloud your focus and dilute your progress. People may offer advice that conflicts with your path, or they may unintentionally plant doubt in your mind. Growth requires clarity, intention, and consistency, and these are best cultivated away from the noise of other people's perceptions. By keeping your efforts private, you protect the integrity of your journey and ensure that your development remains authentic and self-directed. Private growth also allows you to experiment, fail, and learn without fear of criticism. When no one is observing, you are free to make mistakes, to pivot, and to adjust your approach as needed. This freedom is crucial because growth is rarely linear. It involves setbacks, recalibrations, and continuous learning. By keeping this process private, you create a safe environment to take risks and stretch beyond your comfort zone, knowing that the outcome is yours alone to shape. Moreover, private growth builds internal confidence that does not rely on external validation. When your progress is hidden, you learn to trust yourself, to measure success by your own standards, and to value effort over recognition. This type of confidence is far more resilient than confidence built on praise, attention, or approval from others. It becomes a steady force that guides you through challenges, drives your ambitions, and sustains you through adversity. The irony is that when growth happens in private, it often leads to the most visible and impactful results. People notice the changes not because they were told, but because the transformation is undeniable. Your actions, your composure, your achievements speak louder than words ever could. By embracing private growth, you develop strength that is genuine, sustainable, and unshakable, while maintaining control over your journey and preserving your peace along the way. Peace is not something that can be borrowed, or given to you by others. It is an internal state that requires intentional effort, self-awareness, and boundaries. Too often, people allow their mental and emotional space to be influenced, even dictated, by others. They share their struggles, seek validation, or look for sympathy, and in doing so, they relinquish control over their own equilibrium. When you tell someone your problems, you are inviting their emotions, judgments, and biases into your life, whether you realize it or not. Your peace becomes contingent on how they respond, what they think, or how they act, rather than resting firmly in your own hands. Taking full responsibility for your peace means recognizing that no one else has the power to destabilize you unless you allow it. It is a conscious choice to protect your mind, your energy, and your emotional stability. It means setting boundaries around what you share and with whom. Understanding that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Your peace is not a public commodity. It is a private asset that you must guard diligently. When you make your peace your responsibility, you develop resilience. You stop relying on others to make you feel better, to validate your experiences, or to solve your problems. You learn to navigate challenges with clarity and composure because your stability is anchored in yourself, not external factors. This self-reliance is empowering because it allows you to face life's difficulties with confidence, knowing that no matter what happens, your inner calm remains intact. Your peace also influences your decisions and interactions. When you prioritize it, you are more discerning about the people, environments, and situations you allow into your life. You avoid unnecessary conflicts, toxic relationships, and distractions that threaten your mental or emotional well-being. You understand that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary for your growth, happiness, and effectiveness in every area of life. Ultimately, making your peace your responsibility means choosing silence over oversharing, focus over distraction, and self-care over external approval. It is the recognition that your emotional and mental state is yours to maintain, nurture, and protect. By taking ownership of your peace, you empower yourself to live with clarity, strength, and purpose, unshaken by the chaos or opinions of the world around you.